Welcome to the Brother Henry and You Show. I am your host, Henry Harris. Welcome to the Brother Henry and You Show. I am your host, Henry Harris. Thank you for taking this opportunity to watch the show. Today we have an amazing program for you today on the show. Make sure you go ahead and share this video with your friends. I really believe it's going to inspire you today. I'm so honored today to have my special guest. Her name is Franken Sims. Jamie is a mother, she's a wife, she's a nurse practitioner, she's a friend, she's also a believer in Jesus, and also she's the author of the latest book, Franken Boobies. In April of 2013, she received a diagnosis of DCIS, and when we get to, I'll have you to explain what that means. This book details the journey that she went through from her diagnosis to her recovery and all the twists and turns along the way to her new Franken Boobies. Thank you so much for being on the show today. Me. It's such an honor to have you. I like that title, Franken Boobies. When you look at the title of the book, the situation ain't funny,
right? Yeah.
But what made you come up with that title? Like, what inspired you to write this book?
So the title, it just kind of, when you look in the mirror and you see the scars and, the process it takes for, through the reconstruction and everything, just numerous times during the process, I just kept thinking about Frankenstein and Frankenstein and Frankenstein. And, it's not a funny situation, but you can find the humor in it. And that's kind of where I went with the title. I just thought, this is a heavy topic, but let's lighten it up a little bit. And so when I said, when I first thought about the title and I was talking to my kids about it and I said, hey, what about Franken Boobies? And they just cracked up laughing. I was like, well, that's it. That's what we have to do. So as far as the inspiration goes to write the story, I feel like it was just kind of like a process, really. It wasn't, one day I was like, I'm going to write a book about this. It just kind of evolved. Mm-hmm. It started off with getting some scary news when I went to have my mammogram that they're wanting to have a biopsy done, and I didn't like the way that sat with me. And so I used to write a lot when I was a kid. That's how I expressed all my emotions, my dreams, my thoughts, my ideas. And I had some poems published when I was a little girl. Mm-hmm. And
do you still have those?
I don't. I've tried to look them up and I can't find them. My parents bought the books that I had them in, but who knows where they ended up. I even won like a Young Authors Award and things like that. So being dealt with a blow like that, I needed a place to put all my thoughts. And so I just started journaling. And, at first it just started off as a place just to kind of get it off my chest. And then it turned into, once I got the diagnosis and started seeing the doctors, it kind of turned into like a chronological record of who I met with, what they said. And it wasn't until after all my surgeries and everything that I kind of went into a dark place for a minute where it was just like, now what? It was kind of like, what the heck was that? And what do I do now? And so I started going through and writing a little bit more in depth about it. And then I started thinking, this can help other people. And that's kind of where the inspiration came. That's where the passion came from. And that's when my heart really went into it, was when I started thinking about, I know when I was diagnosed and I was trying to find books on that specific kind of cancer, it was really hard to do.
Yeah.
And so I just, every cancer story is going to be different. And I just kind of wanted to put that out there for people.
That's amazing. And speaking of that cancer, it's DCIS.
Yeah.
Can you briefly tell our audience that they may be saying, well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What is that?
So there's different kinds of categories of breast cancer. There's different kinds of stages of it. Mine was DCIS, Ductal Carcinoma in Situ. So basically they found 3 masses, but they found them in the early stages, thank goodness. And so it wasn't believed to be invasive. So when they did the biopsy, they found out that they took 3 lymph nodes, and they found that one had tumor that had moved to it, but it was the one that was closest to the breast. And so the other 2 that were closest to my lymph system weren't involved in it. Okay. This kind of cancer was not going to require me to have chemo or radiation, which I am so thankful for. But at the same time, it really, it's hard when you get a cancer diagnosis and then you do not have to go through those things. You really feel like you don't have any room to be sad about your situation, And so I went to a breast cancer show, and I was one of the models that the Breast Cancer Foundation of the Ozarks put on. And I met all these amazing, amazing women and men that had gone through it, and got to talking with them and just comparing stories. And the things that these women went through, going through chemo and radiation and other life events that were happening during that time, was very inspiring, and I'm talking about mine, and I'm like, well, I didn't have to do chemo, didn't have to do radiation, but I did have 6 surgeries in an 8-month period, so they were like, what? And I was like, what? And so we were just kind of, just sharing our stories, and every woman, every person that is diagnosed with breast cancer is going to have their own path and their own journey that they're going to take with it. But
you talked about that in your book too, how when people are diagnosed with cancer, it's different for different people.
Yeah.
There are people in your book, and your book is amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
I appreciate you for signing it the other day.
Yeah.
You talk about your aunt in your book, your grandpa, just different people, your husband, your support system. But you spoke about your grandmother. That's the one that really stood out to me, because my grandma means a lot to me as well. Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about her and how she's influenced you?
So my grandparents on both sides growing up were a major influence in my life. I spent a lot of time with them. I grew up in the Kansas City area, Lee Summit, and Grandview area, and then but my grandma and grandpa Anderson moved down here when I was little, and I used to come and spend summers with her, and we'd have so much fun. And she was just full of life, and I got a phone call one day when I was older that she had a diagnosis of lung cancer, and I remember going the day that she was going to have her lobectomy done. I remember going and seeing her, and she was just so fabulous, and she was standing at the top of her stairs, and she was just like, hi, and but it just, we used to go to different boutiques and things like that. And I remember when I went and had my fashion fitting, just feeling her with me, it was nice just to kind of have that.
That's amazing. A lot of times when people get a diagnosis, they react in a different way. You said something earlier about processing. Should I be sad about this? What was your first reaction when you found out?
Well, I'll tell you
that you had cancer.
The first, when I went to have the mammogram and they took me in to do the ultrasound because they saw something that they didn't like. At first they came in and told me there was a spot on the right that they were watching that they thought was just residual granulation tissue from when I breastfed. So they came in and they said that the right side's fine, it's stable, no big deal. The left side's another story. Mm-hmm. And that was like, immediately I was like, what? And the first thing that I thought was, no, I have 3 kids. This can't be happening.
Yeah.
I can't.
And some people think it's even a death sentence too.
Yes.
Like when you hear that word, that C word,
yeah,
people automatically give up.
And I would be lying if I said I didn't take that route myself. I immediately went to, I lost my dad when I was a little girl. When I was 5, he passed away. And that immediately was my thoughts were my kids. I don't want them to go through that. And I don't want, and so they told me that I needed to have a biopsy as soon as possible, but then they called me and told me it was going to be weeks before they could do the biopsy. So that's a long time
mm-hmm.
to sit in your own mind and think of the worst case scenarios, Luckily, being a nurse practitioner and being in the healthcare field, I know reputable sources to look at for data, for mm-hmm. information. And so I didn't just run to Dr. Google, mm-hmm. I really, but you do key in on certain words, and it really kind of helped prepare me for when they actually called me with the diagnosis, because I pretty much already knew that that's what it was looking like. And I just remember the day that I found out, I was at the nursing home. I had gone out to my car to take the phone call, and she said, it does show that you have cancer. And I just remember, and this is so weird, but looking up at a tree in front of me, and it was like April, so everything was blooming, mm-hmm. and I was just thinking, that tree is really pretty. That was the first thought after I heard you have cancer is that tree is so pretty. And then I hung up the phone, and it was just like this numbing warmth feeling that kind of just came over my whole body, and it was like, ugh.
Yeah.
And okay. That's all you can say, is okay, now what do we do?
What I love about it is that a lot of times people are not realistic about what they get diagnosed with, but your book is so full. You're an authentic person mm-hmm. as well, but it flows throughout your book as well. And sometimes when people go through different things, life-altering situations like cancer, you often think, what is their push? What is the motivation? What is the fight behind them to keep them to pursue and keep going forward? Mm-hmm. What was yours? What was your motivation? What was your drive? What was it inside of you that helped you not to give up, even though you knew you were diagnosed?
Yeah. Well, I know my kids played a part of it, of course. I mean, as you, I'm sure, understand, those kids, they change your world. And, it wasn't even a question on, do I fight this or whatever. It was, this is going down. Mm-hmm. Or, we're putting the boxing gloves on and we're going to fight this. And really, I think it's because I have plans. I'm not done yet. And, I have a wonderful husband, and I plan on spending a lot of years with him. We both really enjoy watching our children grow, mm-hmm. and I'm looking forward to the retirement years. And there's still a lot of laughter and fun and that stuff to have.
And you're still young.
Yeah. And the kids need their mom, but I could not have got through it without my faith. Yeah. I absolutely could not have. There's this picture that I saw of a woman sitting in a hospital bed, and she's got her family next to her in the chairs and stuff. But the one closest to her was Jesus. And he was sitting in the chair next to her. And he was, the look on his face, I mean, it's just a picture, but it spoke to me. You know, the look on her face is fear and uncertainty, and his is just, he's there with her. He's experiencing that with her. It's not, you know, a smile or anything like that. It's, I feel that, you know, I feel that for you. And so it really, you know, I think my relationship with Jesus really helped kind of get me through all of that.
I think that's powerful. There's a scripture in the Bible where Jesus said, you know, in this world you will have trials and tribulations, but there's another part to that verse that says, be of good cheer, I have overcome the world. So I think when I find myself going through life circumstances, it may not be cancer and the things that you've encountered, that's what helps me or motivates me to keep going when at times our world can be dark at times. So faith plays a huge part in my life as well.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, it may not be cancer, but every person faces trials in life. This is not an easy place to be, you know.
No matter what your status is, everyone, no one is exempt from it. Whether you're a Christian or whatever, no one is exempt. So I think that's a lesson a lot of people can learn. How important do you think? A lot of people don't do this, but how important is it for a woman to get her routine checks?
Oh my goodness!
A lot of people don't do it because they're afraid. You know what they say?
There's a million
they're
reasons.
They're going to find something. You know, what if they don't? So.
Okay, so like I said, you know, my whole story started about 2 years before my actual diagnosis, when I turned the magical age of 40 and had to have my first mammogram. And that's when they found the spot on the right, and you know, they were like, you know, we really don't think it's anything, but we want you to follow up. Well, I got busy in life, but the whole time I'm preaching to my patients, get your mammograms, you know, and everything. But I will, you know, going back and just expecting everything to be fine and then hearing that it wasn't, oh my gosh, it's so important. You know, and even if you're going to stay away from the mammogram side of things for whatever reason, there's people that they have heard horror stories of what these mammograms are like and everything, but you know, cancer's not a cakewalk either. So, you know, early detection is so very vital. And I actually was at Walmart the other day with my daughter, and we were walking down one of the medicine aisles, and they have breast self-check kits now that you can buy over the counter.
Nice.
And I'm not sure exactly how it works, but I was just happy to see that they're thinking, you know, and getting to more women that's so important, because even self-breast exams, if I can, you know, push anything, I would have found this lump had I been doing them, because I found it right after they told me that I had this mass, and I felt it, and I'm like, how did I miss this? You know, so if you would have been if you do your own self-breast exams, early detection is going to happen.
When you had it, were there like no signs? You didn't feel anything?
No.
No. That explains why it's important to get checked out, I guess. My last question is, what is your overall message to women who may be currently dealing with this now? It may not be the same form of cancer you went through, but what can you say, how your book will impact their lives in their journey that they're going through right now?
You know, I think kind of along the lines of what you were talking about, it was, and this is something that my pastor said today that just summed it up for me, because you have to have hope. And you can go and say that, and it's going to sound so flip, and it's just, you know, oh, you just got to have hope, you know. How do you get there? Well, in Romans 5:3-4, it says, you know, that have glory in your struggles, because the struggles are going to bring perseverance. The perseverance is going to bring character, and the character is going to bring hope. And that's how you get there. And, you know, I think no matter what style of, or what type of breast cancer you have, it's okay to feel the feelings that you're going to feel. It's not going to be easy. You're going to go through struggles, and that's just part of it. And I know that sounds so harsh, but it's just the truth. And you know, you can take it one way or another, but I think finding the joy in the struggle is you're going to get through it.
Yeah. Well, you're such an inspiration.
Thanks, Henry.
Thank you so much. And I know this is going to help so many people. We're going to go ahead and put it on the stream. Make sure you go to Amazon and order her book, Franken Boobies. And make sure you let your friends know about this. I believe that the book is really going to inspire a lot of people, especially women who deal with breast cancer. I actually had a friend in 2014. She actually came on my show.
Did she?
She passed away that following year from breast cancer, and I had brought her on. She didn't write a book, but I wanted to hear her story. That was nearly 10 years ago. So it's a serious thing, and I just really believe that if you're struggling in this area, the book will really inspire you. So make sure you go to Amazon and purchase your copy today. I have my copy, and it's such an extraordinary book, and I would rate it 5 if you go to Amazon. Is there anything else you want to say to our audience before we say bye?
No, I just, I will tell you that the cover of my book is kind of non-traditional. My son drew the cover of it. He took the concept of Franken Boobies and put it on paper, and I think it was therapeutic for him too, you know. And so it has extra special meaning to me.
The cover is very capturing too.
Yeah.
Because like the boobs area got little like stitches.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I told him, I said I wanted like bolts coming out the side, because that's what I felt like when I had my drains in. You know, it was just crazy. So
it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's a great book. I want to connect with you. Make sure you go to youtube.com/Henry Harris 100. Also follow me on facebook.com/The Brother Henry and You Show. May God bless you, and we'll see you next week.
We hope you have enjoyed today's program. We want to connect with you. Visit us at facebook.com/The Brother Henry and You Show, or visit us on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Henry Harris 100. We're so grateful you tuned in today and hope you have a fantastic day.